Part 128. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1271. At the beginning of this world, after defeating Sidious, Xiaoming actually planned to use clones and parasites as coordinates and spread them among the major galaxies in the Milky Way. This method is quite effective. With the coordinates, Xiaoming can easily travel between galaxies, even across the entire Milky Way. It feels that the longer the distance, the more energy is consumed, but it is not particularly consumed. Xiaoming has not yet figured out the principle. However, it is very regrettable that the two parasites Xiaoming sent to Geonosis all died. Because the Genosians themselves are Zerg, they eat the small bugs when they see them. Xiaoming didn't have time to activate the ability of bone attachment. Fortunately, Geonosis is not far from Tatoin. This time Xiaoming sneaked in secretly and could not bear the title of Jedi Master. He returned to Tatoin first, and in order not to be exposed, he flew directly over in a small spaceship seized on Tatoin. Because of his extraordinary wisdom, Kurama had to stay in the capital to help analyze intelligence, so he did not go with him. In the Star Wars world, superluminal jump technology is rampant, even small spaceships can do it. Xiaoming has a lot of such spaceships. When this world ends, they will not be so useful when brought into reality. Because the systems of these spaceships do not have the coordinates of the real universe. If you want to continue to use superluminal jumps, you must connect to the Tai Chi diagram. Or you have to use the pan-universe transmission network established by the Space Gem. This is a later story. Not long after, the spaceship arrived in the outer space of Geonosis. Xiaoming was not in a hurry to land, and directly observed the planet with a scanning map in outer space. Geonosis is a harsh rocky planet with planetary rings. Its lifeless surface is full of terraces, hills, and large areas of barren and hot desert hard soil. The sky and rocks here are red, and the creatures evolved in Geonosis have the ability to survive in harsh ecological environments. Xiaoming can find and observe most Genosians, although he can't understand their language that sounds like a telegraph. However, Xiaoming has the superpower of telepathy, which allows him to easily understand what everyone is thinking. Suddenly, an inexplicable sense of intimacy arises, which is, the intimacy brought by blood. Yes, it is blood. Green Xiaoming is a Zerg, a branch of the Zerg. Genosians are also descendants of the Zerg. The ancestors of both sides naturally have no direct blood connection, and they are not even from the same world. Just the relationship of being Zerg, they have a strong sense of intimacy with each other. Before, the Genosian team that Green Xiaoming encountered on Tatoin was composed of nobles and royal soldiers. They have a higher personal will, so the connection between blood is suppressed. That is, reason suppresses nature. These low-level laborers are different. They are simpler, more driven by nature, and more accepting of this blood connection in their bones. They feel that Xiaoming is a higher-ranking Zerg than the nobles. Obeying the superior is an almost natural instinct of Genosians. Green Xiaoming suddenly had an idea and quietly performed Zerg Conquer. The result was very good, and hundreds of nearby laborers immediately became subordinates of the Zerg king. There is such a good thing? Xiaoming was shocked. Zerg Conquer is a skill that Green Xiaoming learned from the Zerg spiritual sea. The Zerg overlord uses this trick to conquer Zerg soldiers. In the early days, Xiaoming used this skill more frequently, but later he moved to the demon realm with his Zerg. Although there are still a small number of subordinates left in the Chu galaxy, the Zerg king himself rarely goes to the Chu galaxy. This skill has gradually been neglected. I didn't expect that in the world of Star Wars, Zerg Conquer can be used. This is great. Xiaoming was worried that he had no tricks to deal with Genosians. Now he finally has a killer. To be honest, the skill of Zerg subjugation is not so useful on the Zerg. But it's no wonder. Every Zerg is born with the blessing of the Zerg spiritual sea and possesses a spiritual power that cannot be underestimated. Naturally, the resistance to spiritual skills is higher. The lower-level Genosian laborers do not have such strength at all. Xiaoming subjugated a Zerg and released it, and a large number of laborers were subjugated. The leader's left guard spent nearly a week quietly running around the entire planet and subjugated more than 90% of the laborers. During this period, the subjugated laborers still worked honestly and did not let the upper level see the flaws. Then, Xiaoming gave an order. Millions of Genosian lower-level laborers took up arms and revolted, dividing and surrounding the nobles and royal soldiers, and captured them all as prisoners. Although the laborers do not have wings, Xiaoming can provide aircraft. In terms of quantity, the lower-level laborers have a 100:1 advantage over the upper level. Vogel and his minions were caught completely off guard. They were all captured before they even had the thought of resisting. The few soldiers and nobles who resisted were all blasted into pieces. Looking at the upper class trembling under their guns, the laborers felt a strange feeling in their hearts. It turned out that these guys were not that great. How could they have been foolishly ruled by these people for so long? It seems that they are not as brave as themselves. With the captives, the next step is to collect intelligence. For this, Xiaoming doesn't even need to torture them, just check their life stories. It can be said that everything is clear at a glance. Xiaoming was still muttering in his heart, the ability of the judge of the underworld is too foul in the reincarnation world. So it makes sense that the space prohibits my master Acha from entering. He didn't know that there was actually another reason why the reincarnation space prohibited my master Acha from entering. It was really not for the golden finger. The series of civil servants in the underworld, whether it is Ghost Messenger, Impermanence, Judge, or Hades, there are these guys in the reincarnation space. They are not prohibited from using the power of the underworld. The prerequisite is that before entering the reincarnation space, the civil servants must extract all their souls from the underworld. There are too many golden fingers in the world. The ability of the underworld is only above the middle level. In addition, the civil servants of the underworld are constrained by the soul gems and rarely do things that anger the heavens and people. They are very qualified reincarnations. The space does not exclude ghost messengers. In the end, Vogel and all the nobles and royal soldiers were also subdued by Xiaoming. It was only more difficult to subdue them with the Zerg, but it was not impossible. Especially under the threat of death, these Genosian leaders gave up their psychological defenses. One after another, they became Xiaoming's Zerg subordinates. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1272. It took only 7 days to basically deal with the Genosians. Even Xiaoming himself couldn't believe such high efficiency. It was too smooth. Even Master Yoda, who knew Xiaoming's strength, did not expect Xiaoming to conquer this race. The first goal was to find out the design drawings of the Death Star. If the relationship between the Sith and the Genosians could be destroyed by the way, it would be even better. As for conquering this race, Master Yoda didn't even dare to think about it. When Xiaoming conquered the trade union before, he made more efforts. But it took a month to control most of the top leaders. There are still many trivial tasks to incorporate the power of the trade union, which are continued by the Republic Parliament and officials of the Neighbor Galaxy. Until now, it has not been completely completed. Of course, this is the best opportunity for all parties to share the benefits. Both the Parliament and the Neighbor Galaxy are happy to do this. The reason why the trade union can be dealt with is mainly because the other party's military strength is all robots, and there are not many high-level Neimoidians. The Genosians are different. They are very united and have strong military strength. Even if Xiaoming can quickly eliminate some high-ranking officials, other Genosians will continue to resist. You can't just kill all of this tribe, right? The main reason why this unexpected result was achieved was race. If it were any other race, it would never be possible. The skill Zerg conquest, when it came into contact with the Genosians who evolved from the Zerg, everything became a natural outcome. For this achievement, the Republic specially rewarded a Victory-class Star Destroyer as the flagship of the right guard of the leader, Huang Xiaoming. However, all the Victory-class Star Destroyers of the Republic are currently on the battlefield and have owners. So the one of the right guard of the leader is still under construction, and the construction period is obviously not very urgent. Xiaoming estimated that it might not be completed by the time he left the world of Star Wars 3. What an insincere reward. And he couldn't do anything with the Star Destroyer. This thing is too big to fit into the underworld, what's the point of it? Now that Green Xiaoming has dealt with the Genosians, will he also get a Star Destroyer as a reward? Thinking of this, Xiaoming feels troubled. Remember, in the world of Guardians of the Galaxy 1, he also got 3 sky carriers. At that time, he couldn't take them away either. He took them to exchange interests with various forces. One of them was traded to the Song, Dog, King family of the 12 Kings of Dakin. It would be great if a reincarnation from a big family appeared at this time. Xiaoming could also trade the Star Destroyer. Unfortunately, this is destined to be a wishful thinking. At this time, the time node of the storyline is very awkward. At this moment, the plot of Star Wars 3 has ended for a while, but the plot of Star Wars 4 has not yet begun. At this time node, the reincarnation space will not send reincarnations into this world. In other words, Xiaoming will have to wait for more than 10 years until Leia and Luke grow up before he can welcome the next wave of reincarnations. There is only a little possibility. And those reincarnations who came in at the same time as him all failed their missions because of his involvement. No reincarnation can live to this day. Xiaoming is now a standard 4 or 3 people who are not dependent on anything. He himself is stupid and doesn't know it. The inferior Boger told Xiaoming that the Sith's plan to build the Death Star, even with the help of the Genosians, would not be successful in more than 10 years. In the original book, the Galactic Empire used national power to build the Death Star. It was not until more than 10 years later, when Leia and Luke had grown up, that it was close to completion. Now without the support of strong manpower and material resources, it would be more difficult for the Sith to build the Death Star than in the original book. But then again, as the Emperor of the Galactic Empire, Sidious must reasonably allocate the resources at hand, and the country must continue to rule. Therefore, resources have to be used in a dispersed manner. Things are different when the coup fails. Although Sidious has fewer resources, he also has fewer places to spend money. The positive and negative offsets can probably slow down the construction speed for a few years. Now Xiaoming has caused even more trouble. The Parliament and the Jedi Order work together, and Sidious has to spend more money and energy to get the key materials. Without the help of the Genosians, whether the Death Star can continue to be built is a big question mark. According to Bogle, the construction plan of the Death Star was first thought of by the Genosians. Only this group of mechanical fanatics would think of such a crazy thing. This design drawing was highly recognized by the then Speaker Palpatine. Just as the Clone Wars were in full swing, the Death Star was secretly formed over Geonosis. Even the Republic Parliament was kept in the dark. But in the sketches of the Genosians, the Death Star was really just a dead star, and the Genosians did not know how to install super weapons. After the Clone Wars started in Geonosis, they had no time to improve their design. The Death Star, which was less than half built, was floating over Geonosis. When Sidious's coup failed, he fled the capital, Coruscant, without even taking a few of his followers with him. But he did not forget the Death Star. While the Jedi Temple and the new Council were stabilizing the situation, he quietly sent people to Geonosis. Because the eyes of the new Council would soon be on this place. So under his instructions, the frame of the Death Star was quickly dismantled and sent to another secret location for reassembly. The person who came to represent Sidious to take over was called Willuk Tarkin. He was born in a wealthy family on Eriadu, and the Tarkin family had lived here for 1,000 years. His parents taught him that respect, discipline, and obedience were the most important things. In this environment, Tarkin grew up to be a natural soldier. In the early stages of the Clone Wars, Tarkin served as a commander in the Battle of Murkhana and successfully struck the local separatist forces. Later, he became the captain of Jedi Master Evan Peer. He was once captured by the separatist forces and was promoted to the rank of general after being rescued. Unfortunately, Master Peer died in the rescue operation. Logically, he should be grateful to the Jedi Order. However, the facts are just the opposite. His philosophy advocated iron-blooded rule, and he gradually became a follower of Chancellor Palpatine. Sidious took him with him when he escaped. In the original book, Tarkin later became the second-in-command of the Galactic Empire and the Emperor's trusted general. His status was even higher than Darth Vader. He vigorously promoted the construction of the Death Star and was also one of the highest managers of the Death Star. When Luke Skywalker destroyed the first Death Star, Willuk Tarkin was killed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1273. Master Yoda, the leader's left guard has conquered Geonosis. Grand Duke Bogle has surrendered. Xiao Ming's different souls are connected. The leader, who was in the underground training ground of the temple, informed Master Yoda of this matter as soon as possible. What? Conquered? Really, even Master Yoda couldn't believe this result. He asked himself that he couldn't do this even if he took action. Although the Genosians suffered heavy losses during the Clone Wars, they still have millions of people. The military and economic strength are very strong. How can they be conquered? Today is not April Fool's Day. Xiao Ming had to explain a little. The race of the leader's left guard is quite special, and it also evolved from insects. He has a natural ability to conquer insect races. Master Yoda felt that the leader's words were basically true. So he nodded and secretly praised that there was such a magical race in the universe, which was really amazing. Speaking of the specialness of the race, he himself was not bad, and he was an old monster who had lived for more than 900 years. I don't know how many generations of opponents have died. The eldest brother, let alone the second brother. Then, Xiao Ming reported the news to Master Yoda in detail. At the end, he asked, Master, you said that the design drawings of the Death Star, should we hand it over to the new parliament? Master Yoda heard the subtext of Xiao Ming's words and was silent for a long time before answering. Not for the time being, such a powerful weapon is not suitable to appear in the Milky Way. Let's try our best to destroy the Sith's one. Xiao Ming nodded to show his understanding. Although the parliament is not as crazy as the Sith, they are also a group of politicians. You can't trust their conscience. Once the parliament has such a powerful weapon, I'm afraid it won't even take the Jedi Temple seriously. Master Yoda and Xiao Ming decided to keep the design drawings a secret for now. First of all, it is the top priority to focus on destroying the construction of the Sith's Death Star. However, this matter can be considered in the long run. After all, according to Bogle's information, the Death Star cannot be built for 10 to 20 years. If the Parliament and the Jedi Knights continue to obstruct, it may never be built. Then there is no need for the Republic to waste resources to build another one to fight against it. Master Yoda once again invited several senior government officials such as Speaker Bail Organa to a meeting. At the meeting, the situation of Geonosis was told half-truthfully. It must not be revealed that Geonosis has been completely conquered. If the Parliament knew about this, it is unknown how much trouble it would cause. They are likely to squeeze the Genosians to death. Now they are all Zerg lineage, Xiaoming certainly can't let his Zerg suffer. So he has to tell a little lie. Let's just say that under the good persuasion of the leader's left guard, Grand Duke Bogle suddenly decided not to cooperate with the Sith. The workers sent to build the Death Star will also be withdrawn. Although the design drawings of the Death Star were not obtained, the construction situation of the Sith was reported to the Parliament, including the current construction site of the Death Star, Mustafar. Mustafar is a small, hot planet with a very high surface temperature and covered with volcanic lava. These lavas are also a precious resource that can be mined. The head of the trade union once stationed on Mustafar for a period of time, using the resources here to build a robot army. Later, receiving the order from Sidious, the entire army marched to the Neighbor Galaxy. Go to send Xiaoming thousands of miles to send heads. Mustafar was abandoned, and soon became Sidious's secret base for building the Death Star. After all, it is rich in resources. In the original book, after Sidious's coup, he sent Darth Vader here to clean up all the heads of the trade union, and the inferior Poggle also died here. Then Master Obi-Wan Kenobi found this Gata, fought a battle with Darth Vader, and seriously injured him. In this life, the trade union is not qualified to know the secrets of the Death Star. Otherwise, Xiaoming would have received news of the Death Star when he conquered the trade union. Now that we know where it is, things will be easy to do. Just send a strong army to Mustafar. However, Zhang Ma raised objections to this matter. He felt that the current Death Star was just an ordinary framework. If the unfinished Death Star was destroyed at this time, Sidious would probably move to another place and build another one. Where to find it then? It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. The best thing for the Republic to do now was to take advantage of the situation. First, infiltrate Mustafar, and at the same time let the Sith continue to invest limited resources in the construction of the Death Star. When the time is right, the Republic will destroy the unfinished Death Star in one fell swoop, along with a large number of Sith party members inside. After suffering such a great loss, Sidious probably didn't have enough resources to build a new Death Star. This strategy was not very clever. If Bell and others were given more time to think about it, they would have thought of it. At the moment, they were actually frightened by the threat of the Death Star, their thinking was a little confused, and they were blinded by a single leaf and could not see the big mountain. Haven't you heard? Although the Genosians can build the Death Star, they cannot make super weapons. So there's really no need to worry too much. After getting Karama's reminder, their minds immediately turned to this corner. Yes, the cost of building the Death Star is appalling. It would be best to keep it for the Sith to bleed. Of course, this matter must be kept highly confidential. Whether it is the Parliament or the Jedi Order, only a few people know the truth. Sidious must have his followers hidden in the Parliament, so it is natural to keep it confidential. The Jedi Order is not a monolithic entity, and the Sith are infiltrating all the time. For example, Count Dooku was originally a Jedi Master. So this matter must also be kept confidential. Only the Supreme Council and a few parties involved need to know about it. It cannot be spread outside. The Speaker and the Jedi Temple will send the most capable and reliable people to infiltrate Mustafar. Master Yoda intends to not bother two masters with one thing. He also asked one of the leader's confidants to go. But Xiaoming refused. The leader, Silver Xiaoming, is learning the practice of the Force from Master Yoda in the temple. The leader's left guard, Green Xiaoming, is dealing with the finishing work of the Genosians. The leader's right guard, Yellow Xiaoming, is dealing with Tatooine and the Trade Federation. The leader's rear guard, Red Xiaoming, is learning cloning technology in the Kamino system. Even the leader's forward, Orange Xiaoming, who is still a child, is now practicing the Force with Master Shakti I in the temple. The 5 Xiaomings are all full. Of course, this doesn't matter. Sending a few 7 shadow clones is enough to deal with the Masters of the Sith. And the main body is safer. But the key to the problem is that this time we have to go undercover. It is very likely that we will have to wait for 10 or 20 years before the Republic will take action against the Death Star. Xiaoming doesn't think he can stay in this world for that long. It would be even more troublesome if he turned around and ran away halfway through the lurking. So Xiaoming really can't take this job. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1274. On the desolate planet of Geonosis, the leader's left guard has an unexpected job. That is to release the Zerg mist. Now all Genosians have joined the Zerg. Green Xiaoming is also trying his best to change the social structure of Genosians. First of all, everyone is equal, and the division of upper nobles and lower laborers is abolished. In addition, wealth should be distributed as fairly as possible. It is no longer the previous way of serious exploitation, but a unified distribution method for the ethnic group. Basic living materials are distributed according to needs, enjoyable materials are distributed according to work, people who have made special contributions to the ethnic group can get long-term treatment, but this treatment cannot be inherited. The technology of the Genosians makes them quite wealthy in the world of Star Wars. It is easy to make everyone live a good life. Of course, just doing this is still a temporary solution. When Xiaoming is on the throne, there will be no problems, but what about after Xiaoming is gone? Human nature always has a selfish and greedy side. Xiaoming can't stay in the world of Star Wars forever. Once he leaves, the Genosians will probably gradually return to their previous state. Or they will become another completely new social form. Xiaoming has also considered whether to pack them up and take them away. The underworld can accommodate millions of people. Speaking of which, creatures can't stay in the underworld for too long, as they will be invaded by the breath of death. Don't look at Zhang Zhong and Neferpita, who can always stay in there for a long time. What kind of strength do these two have? A little bit of death breath is completely harmless to them. But the Genosians are just ordinary people, and their physical fitness is not much better than that of humans. They can't stay in the underworld for too long. Of course, it should be okay for a short time. Xiaoming wants to take advantage of this gap, and after returning to the real world, he will quickly go to the private world and put them in the territory of the Zerg in the demon world. But doing so is not particularly good for the Genosians. They have already gotten used to this universe. If they suddenly run to the world of Yu Yu Hakusho, it will definitely be difficult for them to adapt to life there. In the demon world, there are many strong people. Genosians are just cannon fodder. How can they live well? So Xiaoming finally decided not to take them away. In order to give them a better social structure, Xiaoming decided to cover the planet with Zerg fog. As long as there is enough fog, the Zerg Spirit Sea will appear. This level of Spirit Sea can only slightly improve the spiritual power of Genosians. They may not be able to learn skills, but it can definitely connect everyone's spirit together. With their abilities, it is impossible to deceive each other. There is a high probability that the policies formulated by Xiaoming can continue to be used. Of course, it is also possible to slowly change into another new social structure. That is also their own choice, and Xiaoming does not intend to interfere too much. At this level, it is already a bit too wide. Just when Green Xiaoming was getting excited by spitting out clouds and mist, a Genosian soldier communicated with Xiaoming mentally. Sidious's envoy came to visit. Their spaceship is over the planet, requesting permission to land. Xiaoming nodded, this is expected. What is coming will come. All the workers were withdrawn here, and the construction of the Sith Death Star was no longer supported. Sidious naturally couldn't just let it go. He must send someone to communicate. In their opinion, this might be a despicable means for Bogle to temporarily raise the price. It really hit the vital point. If it were in the past, according to the temper of the Sith Lord, he would have sent someone to kill him directly. Bogle, who do you think you are? You dare to negotiate with the Sith so excessively, you don't want to live. However, this time is different from that time. Sidious is no longer the powerful speaker Palpatine in the past. Not to mention the Genosians, even his original subordinates, many of them have turned to other forces. Some people also dare to be hypocritical to him. At this time, Sidious could no longer afford to offend this group of humans who evolved from insects. He could only send people to persuade them with kind words. If he paid a little more, there should be a chance to save the situation. In the worst case, he had to figure out what Grand Duke Bogle meant. Bogle, who was actually a commoner and a duke on the surface, led some nobles and royal guards to personally welcome Sidious's envoy. Xiao Ming's 2 7-star shadow clones also transformed and mixed in. If it was just to collect intelligence, Xiao Ming would know through mental connection. The clones were sent to prevent the Sith from suddenly turning against him. It is not ruled out that there are masters among the envoys, and a decapitation operation is carried out unexpectedly to capture Bogle as a hostage. Safety first. Of course, from Xiao Ming's investigation, there are no masters of the Sith among these people, and the most powerful one is only a D-level combat power. As an envoy, it is normal to have such guards. The most peculiar thing is actually the selection of the envoy. Xiao Ming thought Wiluk Tarkin would come. After all, he has been in contact with Bogle. He was also the one who supervised the construction of the Death Star. But it turned out that he was not. The person who came was another confidant of Sidious, the former Vice Speaker of the Republic Congress, Mos Amedda. Mos Amedda was a male Chagrian. When Palpatine was not yet the Speaker, he was already the Vice Speaker. He can be said to be a veteran politician. He is very good at handling various complicated affairs. He was once second to none in the Republic. He is very majestic. He also looks very imposing. He is basically humanoid, with blue-purple skin and 2 ivory-like sharp horns on his head, but they are straight. There are 2 lumps of flesh hanging from his ears, until under his chin, 2 more sharp horns grow downwards. He also has a long and forked tongue like a snake. I don't know how they evolved. The appearance of the Chagrians is really scary. Because of Mos Amedda's outstanding ability, Sidious took him with him when he escaped. During this period of confrontation with the new parliament, Mos Amedda gave Sidious advice and suggestions, and really made a lot of efforts. He is also a person who ranks high on the Republic's wanted list. It can be seen that Sidious attaches great importance to this negotiation with the Genosians and actually sent his right-hand man. This is a big risk. Who knows if Bogle will turn his face and capture Mos Almeida to collect the reward from the Republic. Sidious still has no way to deal with Bogle. Even if Bogle is willing to continue to help. Even if he captures Mos Almeida and collects the reward, Sidious will have to accept it. Of course, Sidious will not forget this matter. After he wins the final victory, he will definitely settle the score. Xiao Ming, who read this information from Mos Almeida's mind, suddenly felt that this person was a bit pitiful. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1275. Under Xiao Ming's instructions, Bogle began to practice Tai Chi with Mos Almeida. After all, he was a big businessman, and he could come up with all kinds of excuses. And as a leader and a big businessman, Bogle could speak the universal language of the Milky Way. What about the family being poor and unable to make ends meet, receiving several large orders and not having enough manpower? The price of raw materials has risen again recently. It was all very vague. Mos Almeida was also a master of negotiation. Naturally, he would not directly expose Bogle's obvious nonsense excuses, but would respond with various Tai Chi. The main purpose was to judge what went wrong based on his observation of Bogle. To be honest, there were hidden meanings in their words. Xiao Ming felt that he didn't even understand half of what they meant. Fortunately, Bogle was his own man, and the other party didn't have a master, so Xiao Ming could use telepathy openly. Finally, he was able to understand what both sides meant in time. The two masters of conversation talked around for a long time, and Xiao Ming almost fell asleep. When Bogle was making an excuse, he mentioned the issue of super weapons. The Genosians were not capable of completing the super laser cannon. Without super weapons, the Death Star would become useless. It was nothing more than a military fortress. They were not very interested. Mas Ameda quickly dispelled Bogle's concerns. He said that we already had a solution to this problem, and then waved to a human officer behind him. Then he introduced Bogle. This is my technical director, Lieutenant Colonel Orson Krennic, who has a way to solve this problem. Come on, tell me. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Ming and Bogle were both interested. It turned out that Sidious thought that the Genosians gave up because they could not build super weapons. Bogle did mention this issue several times. So Sidious asked his subordinates about this matter. Mas Ameda thought of the instigator. During the Clone Wars, Orson Krennic proposed the construction of super weapons through him. He won the favor of Chancellor Palpatine. However, Orson Krennic was just a small technical officer. Sidious did not take him with him when he escaped. However, the new parliament did not take him seriously and let Orson continue to do his job under the leadership of the new parliament. After Mas Ameda's reminder, Sidious quietly sent someone to take him out. Orson is an opportunist. He is more willing to be loyal to the Sith than the Republic. In addition, such an inconspicuous person, even if he disappeared, did not attract the attention of the Republic. There are so many people who disappeared during this period. Orson came forward with vigor and spoke passionately. At the end of the speech, Xiao Ming finally understood. It feels that he himself can't solve this problem. But he knows who can solve the problem. Orson's classmate Galen Erso. He was admitted to the Republic's future plan in his early years. He is considered a classmate and a very good friend. After graduation, Orson joined the Republic Engineering Corps and was soon promoted to major, supervising the construction of one large project after another. Galen Erso continued his studies, and by the age of 25, he had written many books and became a well-known scientist. It was with the help of Orson that Galen became a visiting professor at the Institute of Applied Sciences. The relationship between the two sides was quite good at this time. Galen Erso and his wife Lila were both pacifists and strictly maintained political neutrality. They were unwilling to participate in the war. Orson repeatedly persuaded his friend Galen to serve the Republic, which would also add some wings and capital to himself. However, Galen was unmoved. Instead, he suggested that Orson resign from his public office and start a business with him, but Orson also declined. Although the two had different ambitions, they still had a good relationship. When Sidious brought up the issue of super weapons and asked his subordinates for advice, Orson immediately thought of his old friend Galen. Because Galen's main research direction happened to be crystallography and energy enhancement technology. This is the key talent for building super weapons. Orson had thought it through. He planned to trick his old friend and his family out of the capital, Coruscant. He was confident that he could do it. He might need to use force to force his old friend to help. Although this was a bit excessive, he had thought it through. Galen would definitely compromise when he was pointed at by a gun. After the weapons were built, he would compensate him tenfold or 100-fold. At that time, both of them would be appreciated by Sidious and in high positions. I believe Galen would also change his mind. With fame and fortune in front of him, who can refuse it? After becoming a favorite of Sidious, maybe this old friend would be grateful to him. This is the common problem of bad people. They always judge others by themselves and are good at finding excuses to exonerate themselves. The bad things they did were all done out of necessity. Orson always felt that money could solve everything. Even if he had deceived Galen at the beginning, if he had given enough money, the other party would not be angry. Temporary deception and threats were nothing. He was still deceiving himself at this time, firmly believing that he had no bad intentions towards Galen. He was just trying to scare him, and would not really hurt him. He was even doing this to help this old friend, to prevent him from wasting his talent. After gaining fame and fortune in the future, Galen would know how good he was to him. After reading his inner thoughts, Xiaoming was also drunk. It was really speechless. In the original book, after the establishment of the Galactic Empire, Krennic asked Galen to serve as the director of the research center of the Empire's Heavenly Energy Project. The Heavenly Energy Project was ostensibly to provide continuous energy for planets damaged by war, but in fact it was aimed at studying the Death Star super laser cannon. Galen was not aware of it at first. When he learned the truth, he fled from Coruscant to the remote Llama with his wife and daughter, with the help of Saw Gerrera. Unfortunately, the Death Star could not be built without him. So not long after, he was captured by Krennic to continue studying the super laser cannon. Orson attempted to blackmail Galen by controlling Galen's wife and daughter. In the melee, Galen's wife Lila Erso was killed and his daughter Jyn Erso was separated. The former friends broke up completely. More than 10 years later, Jyn Erso grew up and went to rescue her father with the help of the rebel army and friends. Unfortunately, Galen died. During the Battle of Scarif, Jyn and her companions stole the design drawings of the Death Star and sent them to the rebels, creating the prerequisite for Luke Skywalker to destroy the Death Star. At the end of the battle, Wiluk Tarkin used the Death Star's super laser cannon to completely destroy the planet Scarif. All members of Jyn's team died heroically. And Orson Krennic, the culprit who harmed Jyn's family, was also destroyed along with the planet. He died on the super weapon he developed. It's all his own fault. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1276. Orson Krennic forces Galen Erso to work for him, tearing apart his wife and children, with fatal consequences. That is when Galen designed the super laser cannon. He deliberately created a fatal weakness in the Death Star design drawings. It was a small thermal exhaust port that led directly from the core reactor of the base to the surface. If destroyed through the hatch, a proton torpedo can cause a chain reaction that can destroy the entire Death Star. It was this weakness in Galen's design that caused the Death Stars built several times by the Galactic Empire to be destroyed in this way. To be honest, it is impossible to hide such a design from other scientists, and Orson did not get it for nothing. Galen should design his weaknesses more cleverly. It can only be said that Galen's design will be successful because it is completely required by the plot and forcibly lowers the enemy's IQ. Orson, as well as other Imperial scientists and military strategists, turned a blind eye to this major design flaw. From Orson's mind, Xiaoming learned that the people he sent to Coruscant to deceive Galen and his wife set out at the same time as him. We are probably almost reaching the capital now. The leader, Yin Xiaoming, who was at the temple training ground, quickly took action. Activate a mental scan. Sure enough, Galen and his party were intercepted at an airport leaving Coruscant. The spies sent by the Sith were also captured. Galen, a fool, still thinks that his old friend Orson is a good person. The men sent by Orson said to Galen. Orson has now figured it out. Didn't you, Galen, ask him to resign from his official position and start a business with you? Now people agree. Have found a very good private company. I specially invited Mr. and Mrs. Galen to come and take a look. The benefits are great and the location is safe. Even if Galen is not optimistic about that company, then go back to the capital. The company will reimburse the round-trip expenses. When Galen heard that it was a good thing, he was good at technology, and Orson was good at interpersonal relationships. The two of them would definitely be the best partners together. Immediately, he took his wife Lila Erso and his youngest daughter Chin Erso and followed the visitor. No doubt at all. Fortunately, Xiaoming moved quickly enough and took action as soon as he got the information. Two clones who appeared in the space battle intercepted Galen's family in time. Some people may ask, Sidious is such a cunning guy, how could he let Orson go to the planet Geonosis before inviting Galen? Aren't you afraid of leaking secrets? Here's the thing. On the one hand, Darth Sidious is eager to restore relations with the Genosians. I don't have the patience to wait that long. On the other hand, it was too easy to steal an unimportant person from the capital. Because there are too many loopholes in the current capital. Orson was picked up from the capital by the Sith not long ago. The whole process was very smooth. Not only was no one intercepting it, but no one even pursued it afterwards. Of course, it would be very difficult to cause sabotage or assassinate political figures. But people like Orson and Galen were not taken seriously. Besides, when negotiating with Bogle, Orson mentioned that he had a friend who could solve the weapons problem. But he definitely did not reveal Galen's name or details. Xiaoming could only know this through his mind-reading skills. Who would have thought of such a thing? Therefore, it was not that there was anything wrong with Sidious's plan, it was just that he encountered Xiaoming's cheating bug. After listening to the explanation of Neo, the shadow clone of Qi Yao, Galen and his wife looked at each other. Galen said with some suspicion, "No way. Orson is my good friend. Don't talk nonsense or sow discord." Alas, had it not been for Galen's character of trusting his friends, he wouldn't have been so easily deceived by Orson. It's no wonder that the Galen family was once imprisoned by the separatist forces, and it was Orson who rescued them. It was not without reason that he trusted his friend. Neo didn't say much and directly showed him the video of the negotiation between Orson and Bogle. After reading it, Galen was speechless. Although he still couldn't accept this fact. But the friend Orson said could solve the super laser cannon problem was undoubtedly him. In addition, Orson was with the famous wanted criminal and former deputy speaker of the Galactic Republic Council, Mas Amida, negotiating with the Genosians. This is already very telling. Galen also had some idea of the Sith's behavior. If I don't agree to Orson's request this time, I probably won't get any good results. It will even harm my wife and daughter, which makes me feel scared just thinking about it. From then on, Galen's family was properly protected by the Jedi Order. And it's not just them. Other well-known experts in crystallography and energy enhancement technology in the Republic, as well as their families, are secretly protected by the government and Jedi Knights. Since this is the weakness of the Sith's construction of the Death Star, we must start from this aspect. In addition, Kurama also proposed a death plan. It is to choose an expert, meet all his requirements, and make him willing to be invited away by the Sith. There is no need to say more about what this person should do when he ran into the Sith group. This plan is extremely dangerous, but also extremely rewarding. Gladly adopted by the Council and the Jedi Order. Of course, one must be very careful about who is chosen for the Death Chamber. The process of penetrating into the Sith must also be extremely cautious. Once the other party's suspicion is aroused, everything will be lost. At present, the biggest advantage of the Parliament is that it already knows the Sith plan, while the Sith does not know this. This gives the Parliament an opportunity to take advantage of it. However, these things have nothing to do with Xiaoming. His mission is to stabilize Mas Almeida and Orson Krennic. Grand Duke Bogle did it with just one sentence. Wait for your lord to send the design of the super laser cannon, and then we can continue to talk. Then, the entire team of the Sith envoy was kindly retained on the planet Geonosis. In fact, they were detained as hostages. The former deputy speaker did not expect things to develop like this. But he was not angry but happy. This shows that the negotiations are effective. Otherwise, Vogel would not have to react so much. Although this approach is very outrageous, it is not surprising that these guys who evolved from insects have different brain circuits from humans. There are countless strange races and strange rules in the universe. There are many weirder ones than the Genosians. This result is much better than not being able to smell anything and finally parting on bad terms. I just hope that Lord Sidious is strong enough. If he can control Galen as soon as possible and design the blueprint, everything will be fine. He never thought that it was actually Xiao Ming's outsider who was behind this. His result will only be a disaster. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1277. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Happy 10th birthday to Princess Leia and Prince Luke. Oh. Inside and outside the palace of Naboo, there were loud gongs and drums, firecrackers, red flags, and crowds of people. Although Padme no longer holds the position of Queen Amidala, but everyone in the Naboo galaxy still regards her as the Eternal Queen. Especially in recent years, Anakin and Padme have mobilized a lot of resources to increase the construction and development of the Naboo galaxy. Today, the Naboo galaxy has made great progress in economy, military, culture, education, etc. In addition to the capital Coruscant Economic Circle, it has established the second largest center in the entire galaxy. The influence covers a large area. Now the couple is the uncrowned king of the Naboo Galaxy group. The reputation is almost unshakable. What's more, the current Speaker of the Republic, Bail Organa, is also their good friend. There are several main reasons why the Naboo Galaxy can have such development. First, the Naboo system itself has a very good foundation. It is the home planet of Chancellor Palpatine. Previously, the Republic's resources were slightly tilted towards it, and it was also quite famous. Fame is sometimes very illusory and even useless. But sometimes, it can attract talents from all walks of life. Second, Queen Padme Naberi Amidala has extremely outstanding political ability. Without the constraints of Sidious, she has made great achievements under her full play. Third, the powerful military force of Anakin's army gives the people of Naboo system an unparalleled sense of security. This is not to mention the military force of Xiao Ming in secret. Fourth, the wealth from the Trade Federation and Tatooine. As the saying goes, a man cannot get rich without windfall, and a horse cannot get fat without night grass. Although this huge windfall has to be divided into the capital and other parties, the remaining is enough to give Naboo system a shot of cardiac stimulant. The big boss still stayed. Fifth, the cooperation from the Genosians and Kaminoans. Their strong scientific and industrial capabilities also provided great help to the development of the Naboo galaxy. Needless to say, the Genosians are all Xiao Ming's loyal subordinates, and the Kaminoans are won over by Xiao Ming's feeding. It is natural to help the owner do something. With the addition of these multiple advantages, the rapid development of the Naboo galaxy is inevitable. Nowadays, the proposal to upgrade Naboo to a secondary capital has been widely discussed. Various forces are also playing games for this. But it is basically a done deal. No one expected such a result. After all, they didn't expect Naboo to inherit nearly 80% of Tatooine's hidden wealth. After Tatooine was wiped out by Anakin, the hidden wealth of criminals such as Jabba became the target of the entire universe. Many people are still looking for it. Who would have thought that Xiao Ming learned all the treasure locations through the power of the underworld, and selflessly told Queen Amidala all of them? The Genosians are famous for their money and not their people, and the Kaminoans are famous for their aloofness. It is unpredictable that these two races will cooperate deeply with the Naboo galaxy. Therefore, the neighbor galaxy can develop rapidly to its current level in a short period of time. As the representative image of the neighbor galaxy, Queen Amidala, her fame now resounds throughout the Milky Way. Today is the 10th birthday of her twins, Princess Leia and Prince Luke. It can be regarded as a major happy event. All the bigwigs in the neighbor circle came to participate in the celebration. There are also many people who come from all over the Milky Way. At this time, most areas of the Galactic Republic have been pacified. The Sith still controls a few small scattered areas. It can be seen that there is no big wave. War is no longer the main theme of the Milky Way. The society is stable, and the Republic has a lot of work to do. It is in the tide of large-scale production and construction. Merchants are profit-seeking, and merchants from all over the Milky Way want to get a share of the development of the neighbor galaxy. Many regional leaders hope to get support from the neighbor galaxy. Even a small loan would be great. As the saying goes, a lean camel is bigger than a horse. With the size of the neighbor galaxy, even if it reveals a little soup, it can make many galaxies full. Some leaders come to learn from others. It is almost certain that neighbor will become the secondary capital. Of course, they are envious. As Nebo is the first crab eater, it is understandable that other regions want to emulate and replicate its success. In addition, there are also many people from the capital circle. Their purpose is more embarrassing. On the one hand, they also want to work together with the neighbor galaxy to establish better trade relations. On the other hand, once neighbor becomes the secondary capital, their power and interests will inevitably be diluted. It needs to be curbed. Even Bail Organa is very conflicted. However, on the first day of the birthday party, no one talked about business or politics, and everyone gave enough face to the little princess and the little prince. But on the second day, when everyone else was still happy, a certain place in the palace was filled with the sadness of separation. Wow, brother, don't you want Leia anymore? Why do you want to leave? When Leia grows up, she will marry you. Princess Leia hung on the leader's right guard, Huang Xiaoming, like a koala, crying her heart out. Prince Luke next to him didn't cry, but just held Xiaoming's clothes and refused to let go. On the other side, a little girl who was 2 or 3 years older than the twins was holding Xiaoming's right leg and crying loudly. She was Jyn Erso, the daughter of Galen Erso. Galen's family was protected and later moved to Nebo to settle down and participate in the construction here. His daughter Jyn naturally mixed with Leia and Luke. She was also adopted as a goddaughter by Padme and her husband. Everyone called her Princess Jyn. Princess Jyn took care of her younger brothers and sisters carefully like an older sister. Because their parents were busy, the 3 little guys always played with the leader's right guard. They were very attached to Xiaoming. Xiaoming not only gave them delicious and fun things, but also taught them to learn the Force, and even developed different skills for them. Now Princess Leia is a good magician, Luke is also a very powerful Naruto, Jyn's telekinesis training is even more unique. The most important thing is that the 3 of them often receive the source energy emitted by Xiaoming every moment. They may not be able to express this benefit, but they can feel it subconsciously, so they naturally like to follow Xiaoming. Especially Huang Xiaoming still looks like a high school student, which has not changed in 10 years. Leia and Qin often joke that they will grow up together and marry their brother. Because he couldn't bear to leave these 3 children, Xiaoming stayed in the Star Wars world for so long. It was also because of them that Xiaoming decided it was time to leave. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1278. Xiaoming once thought about leaving quietly without telling anyone. Save yourself the trouble of parting. It's a pity that it can't be done at all. At least Master Yoda can sense that the leader wants to leave. Some other people, including Anakin, Shakti and other Force-sensitive people, can also feel it. Even the 2 little guys, Luke and Leia, were vaguely aware of it. During this time, I stayed close to him all day long. If you can't hide it from them, you can't hide it from many people. Xiaoming decided to leave openly. Although the leader and others are not very famous now, many people among the top leaders know them. To a certain extent, they can also be regarded as one of the anchors of the Galactic Republic. Once the group disappears, it will definitely cause an uproar. Therefore, when Xiaoming and his subordinates leave, there must be an explanation. Certain things also need to be handed over. Regarding the Force, cloning technology, and all aspects of knowledge, Xiaoming would never be able to finish learning in his lifetime. However, what I have mastered so far has reached a certain height. In the future, we will focus on practical operations, research, and practice. The knowledge in books can be put aside for a while. The leader of the group, Cheng Xiaoming, who was still a child back then, has now grown into an adult. I went on several missions with my master, Master Shukti, and performed quite well. The master was also very reluctant to let him go. The planet Geonosis has been completely covered by the Zerg fog. Nearly all Genosians evolved in the mists of plenty. A few evolved to be quite powerful. It can be said that apart from the Jedi Order and the Sith, they have few opponents in the universe. The Genosians are accustomed to the spiritually connected life of the entire race. Even if they leave, they can still live well. As for the Sith delegation that was placed under house arrest by Xiaoming, it was later handed over to the Republic after Sidious became weaker and weaker. Former Deputy Speaker Mas Amida was sentenced to death, while Orson Krennic was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Xiaoming also inserted a sword in his body to reward good and punish evil. Other followers also have their own punishments. Orson's crime in the original work is not unjust even if he is cut into pieces by 1,000 cuts. But in this life, Orson didn't have time to do evil at all. Xiaoming doesn't know the plot of the original work either. So I'm not that harsh on Orson. Just a slight punishment. Besides, without the prerequisites of Sidious and the Galactic Empire, people like Orson can't make any big waves. Xiaoming has a total of 3 Victory-class Star Destroyers under his various identities. Before leaving, he gave them to the Jedi Temple, Naboo System, and Geonosis respectively. It hurts, but there is no way. The reincarnation who made him wait for 10 years has never come to the world of Star Wars. In terms of practicing the Force, Xiaoming has reached a very powerful level. Various techniques are also available. Even in the next few years, he still had enough energy to practice the 100-style Guanyin move in reality. Unfortunately, after practicing, Xiaoming felt a little depressed. It was completely different from what he had imagined. Chairman Nitro's 100-style Guanyin in Hunter x Hunter is a move that can compete with the S-Class Master and King Maluem. In the original work, Miruem applied the art of chess to battle, found the president's flaw, and defeated Netero with one blow. Of course, Maluem believed that even if he didn't find the president's flaw, he would still win in the end. Because 100 styles Guanyin can only cause skin trauma to the Ant King, it cannot even cause serious injuries such as breaking bones. In the end, when it came to the consumption of telekinesis, the pinnacle of human beings could not compare to the king of Chimera ants. After all, such a powerful move consumes a huge amount of telekinesis. Nitro didn't have the stamina to fight for days and nights. Xiaoming wondered if he used Beishi Guanyin himself, it would be more effective than the president. First of all, his defense is strong enough, even Miruem shouldn't be able to defeat him with one blow. Secondly, he has enough energy, and Xiaoming has not been afraid of anyone in a war of attrition. Finally, I used the Qiyao Shadow clones. Maybe each clone could summon 100 styles Guanyin. If you fight dozens of them, you should be able to win. However, I really mastered this skill. Xiaoming discovered that this was not the case at all. This score is used by anyone. His 100 styles of Avalokitesvara and President Nitro's hundreds of styles of Avalokitesvara are vastly different. Because Beishi Guanyin is an operational type of mind beast, not an automatic type of mind beast. The operator behind the huge Guanyin statue is the telepathic person himself. The strength of President Nitro's 100-style Guanyin comes from his profound martial arts attainments and endless tricks. That's why it's so powerful. Xiaoming was embarrassed because he did not have such martial arts attainments. Even if you try to summon a huge Guanyin statue under Xiaoming's control, he was unable to exert too much strength. You can only think of Beishi Guanyin as a bulky human shield tank. Probably for this reason, Xiaoming was able to implement this trick in reality. The power is slightly weak, even a bit dispensable. Fortunately, it's not all bad news. The good news is that the Qi Yao Shadow clone also has the ability to summon the 100 styles of Guanyin, which can be used to scare people in the future. Of course, Xiaoming's Beishi Guanyin is not particularly bad either. After all, he had learned a lot of Kung Fu from the Golden Book. Still helpful. Other reincarnations should not have expected that Xiaoming's 100 styles of Guanyin is not very powerful. Besides, he has plenty of time. Xiaoming's martial arts attainments will become more and more profound with time. One day, his 100 styles of Guanyin will be comparable to the president. Even better. In the underground training ground of the Jedi Temple, Master Yoda fought with 100 styles of Guanyin for the last time. This time Xiaoming spent a little more effort. Master Yoda and the 700 styles of Guanyin arranged in the Tiangangbidu formation fought to a draw. As I said, in a war of attrition, Xiaoming is not afraid of anyone. I will never see this trick again. Haha, what a pity. Master Yoda sighed sincerely. He had never seen such a magical skill in his 900 years of life. I really want to fight a few more times. However, Master Yoda is not a sentimental person. Respect Xiaoming's personal choice. In the Republic, only this master can be so open-minded. Of course, he symbolically retained him. The Death Star incident is not over yet, and Sidious is still alive. Is it really okay for you to just leave like this? Master Yoda asked with a smile. Xiaoming also smiled back. The Death Star is under our surveillance throughout the process. We can deal with it at any time. It has been used to bleed Sidious all these years. I have finally figured it out. Sidious is a guy who can't grasp the key points. Even if he really takes power, he can't govern the galaxy well. With the current strength of the Jedi Order, it is only a matter of time to eliminate Sidious. It doesn't matter whether I am there or not. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1279. The Sith Lord Sidious, like the useless thing called the Death Star, is not worthy of Xiaoming's thinking too much. Sidious's own strength is really very strong, and he is also very good at playing tricks. But he does not know how to manage the national economy and people's livelihood. This surprised Xiaoming. After all, he climbed up step by step from a low-level official. It shouldn't be so substandard. Even after his coup failed and he fled Coruscant, Sidious still had huge manpower and material resources at his disposal. It can completely compete with the Republic. Who would have thought that he would lose almost all his family wealth in 10 years? It's really staggering. Of course, Xiaoming played a big role in this. The bottomless pit of money-burning Death Star was the hole Xiaoming dug for him. This guy has fallen into the pit and still hasn't figured it out. In the original work, the situation is actually similar. Sidious's coup was successful and he ascended the throne and proclaimed himself emperor. Rule the galaxy with iron and blood. As a result, for decades, Rebel armies in various places rose up one after another, becoming stronger as the war progressed, and finally overthrew the Galactic Empire, which had an absolute advantage. This shows his poor ability to govern the country. Tell the truth. The common people did not care whether the ruler was a Sith or a Jedi. As long as life is good and safety is guaranteed, everyone will support it. And from a certain perspective, an iron-blooded regime may be more conducive to establishing a stable and peaceful social order. Sidious's basic conditions are really good, as long as he doesn't mess around a few more times and lets the people recuperate. There is no soil for the rebels to exist. Even if he messed up the situation along the way, no one should blame him. It was all due to his own incompetence. What really worries Xiao Ming is the Anti-Monopoly Act that he pushed for. When this bill was first formulated, there was not much resistance. Why? Because almost all the large financial groups that will be affected by this bill have already joined the trade alliance. Originally the enemy. The businessmen on the parliamentary side are more supportive because they have not yet developed to that level. But after so many years, the trade alliance was completely defeated, and the merchants on the Republic side began to become stronger and stronger. It is inevitable to encounter the restrictions of the Anti-Monopoly Act. The butt determines the head. Once they are rich and powerful, they begin to be dissatisfied with this bill. There is an undercurrent in the parliament now. Of course, there are many people who support this bill. For example, the Neighbor Galaxy is a staunch supporter. The reason why these capitalists have not caused trouble yet is entirely due to the status of the leader and others, and the status of the Jedi Temple, which is too much of a deterrent to them. Xiao Ming estimated that within 3 to 5 years after he left, this matter would definitely cause trouble. But he didn't have any good solution. Xiao Ming even felt that even if he didn't leave, but even if we can suppress it for a few more years, it will eventually cause trouble. The greed of capitalists cannot be deterred simply by force. I'm not a qualified politician, so I can't control that much. Let them choose the future of the Republic. Xiao Ming put aside this idea. I heard Master Yoda's next question again. Master, where are you going? You said you would never come back. Why is that? Xiao Ming really didn't know how to explain it. You can't tell everything about the reincarnation space. I had to use an ambiguous Buddhist statement. Come from where you are and go where you are going. This is just a journey for us. Master Yoda frowned and thought about it carefully for a while, and suddenly realized it. Asked. Did you gain the heritage of the Rakata people? I see, that's it? I understand. Nani? What are the Rakata people? Xiao Ming was confused. But in order to fool Master Yoda, Xiao Ming did not admit or deny it. Master Yoda actually didn't wait for Xiao Ming's answer. He had already decided in his heart that this was the case. Probably only in this way can we explain many miraculous things about the leader. Legend has it that the Rakata people, with their home star of Lehen as their capital tens of thousands of years ago, formally established the first clearly recorded unified regime in the history of the galaxy, the Infinite Empire. They are force-sensitive and very technologically advanced. Dominate the entire galaxy with force. Their methods of rule can be described as brutal. Later, the Infinite Empire unexpectedly fell, and the Rakata disappeared from the galaxy. But legends about them persist. It has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. It is said that some strong men have appeared in history because they found the heritage of the Rakata people. There is also a legend that the Rakata people are not extinct, and some of the remaining forces have left the Milky Way and gone to other galaxies to develop again. Having established a new infinite empire, maybe they will come back at some point. Of course, most of these rumors are false. However, for a power as large as the Infinite Empire, it is normal for some precious heritage to be hidden and not discovered. Master Yoda believes that the leader and others should have obtained the inheritance of the Rakata people to have so many strange abilities. Now he has decided to leave, probably to follow the traces of the Rakata people and go to another galaxy to find them. As for what to do after finding it, that's unknown. After years of being together, Master Yoda has been confirmed. The leader of the group does not care much about fame and fortune, nor are they fans of fighting. Instead, they focus on learning various skills and knowledge. It is likely that he wanted to use this to explore the ultimate mysteries of the universe. This is a very great and lofty ideal. That's why they pursued the Rakata people to other star systems. They hoped to learn more from the Rakata people. How could Master Yoda know that this was the first time the Master heard the name of the Rakata people? The rest of the plot was just his own imagination. The Master, Silver Xiaoming, heard the new term, so it was impossible for him to ask Master Yoda. So, the Master's guard, Red Xiaoming, on Kamino asked this question to Kamino Prime Minister Ramasu. Ramasu was not sure either, but fortunately, the Kamino people had a very rich knowledge reserve, and found a few words about the Rakata people and the Infinite Empire from the archives. After reading it, Xiaoming roughly understood the situation. He also guessed that Master Yoda might have had some misunderstanding. But it's okay this way. Finally, there is a reasonable explanation. Xiaoming immediately learned it and applied it, and used this reason to evade the inquiries of Anakin and Padme. The couple has always regarded the leader's right guard, Huang Xiaoming, as their master. Now that the master is leaving, they should follow him unconditionally. However, everyone knows that they can't leave. The Nabo Galaxy absolutely cannot do without Queen Amidala, the 501st Legion cannot do without Anakin Skywalker, the Commander-in-Chief. Even Leia and Luke are destined to be the rulers of the Nabo Galaxy in the future. The lives of tens of billions of people depend on them. It is impossible for them to just leave. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1280. A clear cry sounded in the air. Following the sound, a large bird like a phoenix flew over. When it got closer, it could be seen clearly that the bird had two dragon horns on its head. A person jumped off its back, and it was none other than Mrs. Jocastanu, the administrator of the Jedi Temple Library and Archives. The bird turned around and turned into a person who looked almost exactly like Zhang Xiaoming, except that it had a pair of dragon horns on its head. He shouted big, and threw himself into the arms of the leader. Fortunately, Xiaoming was stable enough, or he would have been knocked over. In the Star Wars world, the number of people who had the strength to knock Xiaoming over could be counted on one hand. This young man was Xiao Xiao'er. Xiao Xiao'er was a monster called Shinwei. He had the characteristics of both dragons and birds. The Dragon Palace unceremoniously classified this tribe under its own name. In fact, if Xiaoming were to say, Shinwei had no similarities with the dragons except for the dragon horns. The dragons were a bit shameless. The egg that hatched Xiao Xiao'er was given to him by the dragon reincarnation Yujian Guangan Zhao Jizhu. This kind of monster will turn into any creature it sees at first sight when it is just hatched from the egg. So when Xiao Xiao'er was young, he was a shrunken Xiaoming. After growing up, he will return to his original form that looks like a dragon and a bird. Originally, Chen Wei could no longer change into a human form after growing up. However, Zhao Jizhu had taught Xiao Xiao'er the spell to change into a human form before. As a result, Xiao Xiao used the Fahashi, but still looked like Xiaoming. Could it be that Xiao Xiao'er grew up slowly in 10 years? Actually not. I still remember the last time Xiaoming took the hacker energy block to trade with Zhao Jizhu. What he got was a grey stone. Xiaoming has been keeping that stone, and he doesn't know what it is for. About a few years ago, Xiaoming suddenly had a whim and took out the stone and injected source energy into it. It took a long time for this grey stone to emit a silver light. Then, nothing happened, the stone was eaten by Xiao Xiao'er. Next, Xiao Xiao'er grew up directly in the dazzling light. It is unknown how many hundreds or thousands of years it took to grow up. There is no need to say more about the doorway here. Yijiang Guanghan Zhao who was born in the Dragon Clan, came to provide a one-stop service. First, he gave an egg of Chenwei. After Xiao Xiao'er was born, Zhao Zhizhu taught Xiao Xiao'er various Taoist magics. A while ago, he also gave the mysterious Grey Stone. I don't know if he will be responsible for finding a wife for Xiao Xiao'er in the future. Of course, if Xiao Ming hadn't personally infused the source energy into the Grey Stone, it would probably not have much effect. This should be a test made by the Dragon Clan. As for what kind of speculation this effect would cause the Dragon Clan, it is hard to say. At least it would be a shock. Xiao Ming held Xiao Xiao'er and turned around twice, and suddenly he was hit on the back of his head. Looking back, it was none other than Mrs. Jocasta Nu who hit him. She raised her cane and lashed the leader all over the head. She beat him and scolded him. "You little brat, why are you walking when you are full? If you want to walk, just walk by yourself. Why do you want to take Xiao Xiao'er with you? You are so heartless. I will beat you to death and let you go." Xiao Xiao'er's mind has also grown a lot along with his body. Knowing that Mrs. Jocasta Nu didn't really beat him, she just watched the fun from the side. Mrs. Jocasta Nu really likes Xiao Xiao'er. After he grew up, she likes him even more. Tatsumai's monster form is very beautiful, his human form is smart and cute. The old lady likes him especially. How much she liked Xiao Xiao'er before, how much she hates the leader now. It was because the leader and his people were leaving that they took Xiao Xiao'er away. The leader looks exactly like Xiao Xiao'er, except for the pair of horns on his head. But the treatment is so different. Of course, Mrs. Jocasta Nu was just venting her anger. Xiao Ming also knew this, so he was willing to be beaten. Anyway, it was not painful. Otherwise, with Xiao Ming's wide range of investigation, how could he be hit by Mrs. Jocasta Nu? In order to make amends, the leader sincerely presented Mrs. Jocasta Nu with an exquisite lightsaber. This is a lightsaber made by Xiao Ming himself, and the quality is much better than ordinary laser swords. There are also many forms such as knives, swords, guns, etc. to choose from. The old lady took it with a smile, and there was no expression of embarrassment. Today, outsiders may not know it, but inside the Jedi Temple, the lightsaber made by the leader himself has won the pursuit of all Jedi Masters. Over the years, Xiao Ming has learned to the point of perfection in the application of kyber crystals. Thanks to Galen Erso's teaching. Galen Erso is an expert in crystallography and energetics, and even a genius among 10,000. His knowledge is beyond doubt. However, Galen is a pacifist. He only studies the development of kyber crystals in civilian technology, and is determined not to study their military uses. Xiao Ming proposed to learn from him how to use crystals for military purposes a long time ago. He was sternly rejected. Although Galen is inclined to the Jedi Order, he is unwilling to study weapons for the Republic Congress. Master Yoda is happy to see this attitude. And Galen's family is protected by both the Naboo Galaxy and the Jedi Order. Although the Congress is very dissatisfied with this, it has no ability to force Galen to do anything. Both layers of protection are too strong. Just because the Parliament can't do something doesn't mean Xiao Ming can't do it. He sent many clones to learn from Galen as assistants or students. They often asked questions about designing weapons with kyber crystals. Galen always firmly refused to answer. But Xiao Ming didn't need his answer. Even if he didn't say it, he would definitely think about it in his mind. And Xiao Ming could just read out everything he thought of. He made it quietly in private. During the production process, if there was a problem, the clones would continue to ask Galen. Continue to get the answer directly from his mind. This made Galen very depressed. Obviously, he kept his mouth shut and didn't answer a single question. This group of assistants and students seemed to have really done it, and the questions they asked became more and more in-depth and detailed. Are they all so geniuses? Just relying on the brain's thinking, you can imagine what kind of specific problems you will encounter if you really do that. It's a bit like the kind of people who play blind chess. But it's more than 100 times more difficult than playing blind chess. Galen had never seen anyone other than himself who had the ability to model virtual things in their brains. Several times, he almost wanted to answer. But he stopped himself every time. Since then, Galen has always had a very conflicting feeling. On the one hand, he didn't want his students to research the weaponization of kyber crystals. On the other hand, Galen was looking forward to the questions they would ask. Scientists are very curious.